This is Sean with Griffin RC Planes. Today is Sunday evening, and gonna let you know what I've been up to with RC this past week. Yesterday, Saturday, we went flying, and the weather was absolutely perfect. It was a little overcast, I call it. You know, the sky was a little gray. Was zero wind, and I think that is just ideal because you're not staring straight up at the sun the majority of the time. It makes it harder to see your plane when it gets off in the distance. But for the better part, I would take overcast over bright sunny. It just makes seeing them so much easier. As far as my UMX pits project, I haven't done anything with that yet. I have downloaded some files from an older UMX GB that had Safe Select, and I'm going to work on trying to integrate that. And so we're still putting that. I'm still working on that project, but that's kind of on the back burner. But yesterday, flying Saturday, was awesome. It was almost so good that I actually came home before dark. And when it gets dark at 4:30, 5 o'clock, normally I'm leaving the flying field when it's dark, having to use a flashlight to make sure everything's picked up. But the conditions were so perfect yesterday that you almost kind of got a little tired of it, if that makes any sense. It's kind of like going fishing and catching a fish every time you cast out. Get a little old at times, but we had a blast, and it was perfect conditions. Of course, I flew my extra, and I took out the big FMS pits, and we'll talk about that at a later date. Today I want to show you guys how to replace bearings in a brushless motor. I talked about that the other day, and had a few people send me some messages asking about it. So I've got another one to replace the bearings in, and we're going to do that now. So hang tight. Hey guys, we've got a brushless outrunner motor here. This is a Predator 4258 550 kV. If you've ever been wondering what the 4258 stands for, it's millimeters. 42 millimeters wide by 58 millimeters tall. And that'll kind of give you an idea of what kind of power they make. For example, if this nut driver in my hand here was a 10 millimeter by 15 or 20, that would be like a UMX size motor. Kind of help you out. So when you're shopping, or you hear something that says requires 40 size motor, that's giving you a roundabout what kind of power you need. For example, you're looking at this particular balsa plane that says it can run on glow 0.46 motor, up to whatever, or electric 40 size motor. So that gives you an idea of what size and what kind of power. A lot of the bigger planes have a 60 size motor, so it's going to be a little bit bigger around, and the plane's going to be bigger. But anyway, so maybe that'll help you out. 42 by 58, 42 millimeters wide, 58 millimeters tall. The extra 300, that's my go-to airplane. It has a 4250. Now that's a pretty big motor and could actually fly a fairly heavy plane. But that's how it can do all the 3D maneuvers, is that it has a big motor with a lot of power in a light plane. So anyways, the bearings are bad because of a crash I had, and it's good that the bearings failed to prevent other stuff from going bad. An example is if your retract landing gear was tough as nails and you had a hard landing, it could potentially break your plane in half. So you would much rather have your retract landing gear, bend or break versus something else. So the bearings took a jar, and now they don't spin like they used to. The first thing we need to do is get this clip off. And it's a C-clip, and it grabs this collar. The collar has a groove cut in it. They make a special tool that I don't have small enough to spread the clip open. But the way I get them off is just take a little tiny screwdriver and kind of get under one edge of it, and you just got to kind of play with it. and gently get it off without damaging it, you know, more than you should. But anyways, there, I got it off. That's what it looks like right there. And when we go to put it on, we'll bend it back straight and put it on. The second thing is this lock collar right here. This one has 2 Allen set screws, 1 in each side. Now, being that I've already loosened this before I started to record it, if you go to put your Allen wrench or your Allen driver in it, and make sure you get the right size is one that fits as deep as it can go in and fits snug. You know, when you put it in, let me tighten it here. When you put your tool in, you don't want to be able to rock the tool back and forth while you're inside, because that means it's too small. If it's too big, you can't get it to go very far in. So you want to find one that fits perfect. And that's as far as it'll go in, and when it's in, there's no play back and forth. And then if you go to turn it, you know, unscrew it to the left, and it doesn't budge, that means it has Loctite, which is a liquid that hardens to keep it from backing out by vibrations. And a way to help loosen that up is take a match or a lighter or something and get your tool a little warm, not glowing red hot, just, you know, put some heat to it, and then put your tool in there and let it sit for a second, and don't burn your fingers. And what that's going to do is loosen up the Loctite to where you can back it off. And once you Alright guys, I had a small technical glitch, so I've had to re-record a little bit of this, so I think I'm picking up exactly where I left off. Anyway, so we've got our lock collar off, we've got our lock clip and our washer off, and now it's time to pull the motor apart. Now the magnetic is really strong, and it could pinch your fingers. So you're going to need some, you know, you don't want your hands wet, and you're going to need to be able to get a good grip, like a really strong grip. And when you pull it apart, you need to pull it as straight as possible you can. So when I pull it apart, I kind of pinch it. That way, if the can tries to slide back over, it'll slow it down. But you can see how it's going here, and then you can see that I got it pinched. See how it snapped back? So there's a good strong bit of magnetism here. So now we've got it apart. The bearings we're going to be replacing is this one here and this one here. And the way I get them out is I hold the motor in my hand, and I'm going to use this drill bit as a punch. But there's many other things you may have to drive them out. But I insert it through one of the bearings, and I put it on an angle so that when it's hitting the back side of this bearing, the angle is touching one side of it. And then I'll kind of hold it with my thumb, so therefore it's on an angle. And then I hold it in my hand. That way my hand has some give, and you take less chance on damaging it if you were hitting against a hard surface. And it doesn't take much. There you go. There's one right there. Some are harder than others. And we're going to do the same thing with this side. And there's two. These bearings in this particular motor, they measure 13 millimeters with the thickness is 4, and then we have the 5 millimeter shaft. And I got the replacement bearings from Amazon, like I mentioned, $7-8 or something. TRBRC.com. I got them through Amazon. These are the best bearings that I have found yet. And I've tried a few. And the replacement bearings are, well, I gotta grab them. The replacement bearings are right here under the hammer handle. But you can see just by the visual look that there's two different kinds. The one on the right that we took out was a shield. The one on the left, which were the new ones we're going to put in, are sealed. And I've found out that sealed is better for higher RPM, and they seem to simply be a better bearing. So we'll measure the new one, and it's 13 millimeters. The thickness is 4 plus the 5 millimeter shaft. And the way you need to put these in is you need to, they need to get pressed in perfectly straight. So kind of gently set it on there. You know, you don't want to cram it in on an angle because then it's going to get really tough. So try to get it centered as best you can without putting much pressure on it. And once you feel like you've got it somewhat straight, if you can press it in with your thumb, that is the best way. If not, we'll have to use a little force. And I was able to get it in with my thumb, and the other side, we're going to line it up as best we can without putting much pressure, and then in it goes. And then when you assemble this, you got to remember that magnetic force is going to really pull it in, so you don't want to pinch your fingers, and you want to get it to go in as straight as possible. I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to kind of pinch the motor here to catch it from going all the way down. And going through the first bearing's easy, and going through the second one, you want to go straight, or it's going to push the new bearing out. There we go. And then the first part was the washer. The second part is the lock collar. Now there's a flat spot on the shaft here that one of these lock nuts needs to go on. And you can find that part, you know, either with your eyes, or you can start to tighten up one of these jam nuts. And as you're tightening it a little bit, you can rock this back and forth, and it's stopping at each time here. So I know that I'm on that flat spot. And you want to try to find the middle of it. And just snug. Don't tighten it all the way. Then go to the other side. And remember, some of these just have you know, one lock nut, jam nut, or whatever. This one has two. And then on the back side of this one, we're going to tighten it down fairly well. And then go back to the one that was on the flat side and give that one a good tug. Now this lock ring, don't forget, we kind of bent it a little bit when we were trying to get it off with the screwdriver. So then you just take some needle nose or something and try to straighten it out the best you can. And I just kind of roll it on. And this all takes a little bit of practice, guys. And I've got it on there, and then I'm just going to close it up with some needle nose here. And I can see it, and it's on there all the way. And this motor feels just like it did when I bought it. Hey guys, I'm making a cut in real quick. When I finished the video, I remembered that I didn't show you a couple alternatives on how to get the bearings in. So look at this one on my left. These are different motors, by the way. If you can't press it in with your fingers, you know, you get your bearing on there and get it lined up, you know, gently and even, and then you put something the same exact size on it and tap it in with a rubber mallet or a piece of wood, you know, something like that. You know, you don't want to use a metal claw hammer, you know, something that's got a little bit of force behind it, and get it in that way. Another way is, this is a screw and a nut and some washers, and you can start both of the bearings on each side, and then you can just screw the, you know, as the screw gets tighter, it'll suck them in together. That's a couple more options. Okay, back to the video. Thank you. And we've repaired it for You know, if you get 10 for $8, it requires 2 of them. You know, so what's the math on that? $2, less than $2. So a $70 motor just got repaired for a couple of dollars, and you know, then you can get many more flights out of it. But hey guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave some comments. And until the next one, we'll see you around. Thank you.